From multi-million-dollar media deals to the launch of her own lifestyle brand, Meghan Markle has been busy carving out a new identity beyond the British royal family.
People now question, did she really want to make a go of it with the royal family, or did she always intend to return to America and try and seek her fortune there?
Since they came crashing out of the royal family in 2020, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have made good use of their royal credentials to land some huge Hollywood deals.
They got 100 million from Netflix, and suddenly they also got 20 million from Spotify.
Harry and Meghan's big trump card was talking about being in the royal family.
They still do have the connection to the royal family, but what is that worth?
But with lucrative partnerships crumbling and new ventures raising eyebrows, what will be Meghan's next move?
The money has poured in at the start, but the big question is, will it continue to come?
Is the Duchess building a lasting legacy as an independent businesswoman?
Meghan wants to be viewed as this really successful girl boss.
Or simply cashing in quick on her royal connections?
If they weren't royal, no one would be interested in them.
In 2014, years before meeting Prince Harry, Meghan Markle was already in the spotlight. She was winning fans worldwide with her breakout role in the hit legal drama Suits.
Mike Ross? Hi. I'm Rachel Zane. I'll be giving you your orientation.
Wow, you're pretty.
And when she was in Suits, you know, she was a star. She wasn't a big Hollywood star. I would call her a starlet. She was in a soap, basically. But it was very, very popular, had a really good core cult viewing. And she was making money from it.
I first sort of met Meghan Markle as the actress, as Rachel Zane. I loved it. I watched it all the time, religiously. And yeah, she was a great character.
She did appear in some Hollywood films, but always small parts. And I think when that didn't work, she then moved into the sort of lifestyle influencer role.
Meghan ran a blog called The Tig.
The Tig was a lifestyle blog, and it was really of its time. It was kind of really stylized images of her in beautiful clothes, or she would sometimes do celebrity interviews.
The Tig was very similar to Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop, and it felt it was authentically Meghan. She actually saw that you could monetize it. You could look at how you could do affiliate links. You know, if Meghan says, this is the lovely tea that I like, or this is the makeup I like, she would then, you know, get a bit of cash off the back of it.
Between her TV career and her blog, Meghan had built a fortune worth nearly $5 million, affording her a lifestyle she wasn't used to.
Meghan's childhood was pretty ordinary. Her father worked in the lighting for many Hollywood movies and sets, and also for sitcoms, etc.
And Mum's a former social worker. She doesn't come from that moneyed, rich background.
By 2016, Meghan's life looked very different. She was now making headlines after being spotted with a prince. After she caught Harry's attention on Instagram, the couple's royal love story began when they were set up on a date.
I can remember seeing pictures of Meghan in the UK, and I remember on Instagram seeing a picture of her at Soho Farmhouse. I remember being curious about that. I mean, like, why is this kind of Hollywood actress in this like major TV series spending so much time in the UK? And then it all came out that she was with Prince Harry. And I was like, what? That's so crazy. She's a famous actress.
The nation was shocked by this unexpected pairing of a prince and an American celebrity. Meghan says she didn't know a lot about Prince Harry when they met.
Given that I didn't know a lot about him, everything that I've learned about him, I learned through him.
Despite having visited Buckingham Palace as a child. But nonetheless, the couple were smitten.
I think Harry, in his youth, struggled a lot with direction. And I think meeting sort of a very strong-willed woman, such as Meghan, would have been a breath of fresh air for him. It's very clear that she is a bit of a hustler in the American sense, and I think that that would have been very attractive for him.
You know, lots of the girls that he'd met before may not have had such big ambition as Meghan. Many of them had come from families of wealth rather than actually somebody who'd driven and worked themselves up to get to where that level is.
After dating for a year and a half, in 2017, the prince popped the question.
Is that standard Typical night
Just
for
a
us.
cozy night. It was what we were doing, just roasting chicken and having
Trying to roast chicken.
trying to roast a chicken, and it was just an amazing surprise. It was so sweet and natural and very romantic.
And finally, in May 2018, 2 years after meeting, the nation delighted in the marriage of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
The public, the press, everybody loved them. They've made history. It was so celebratory, so amazing. The potential of what they could do, the places they could go, the charity work they could do, the leverage they had was just phenomenal. It was so exciting.
Along with William and Kate, and dubbed the Fab Four, the two royal couples seem to be signalling a bold new era for the royal family.
William, Harry, Catherine, and Meghan. And the idea was that, wow, this new generation could really bring this family, you know, to the future. I think for younger people, they really represented sort of people that they could get behind at that point.
She was also a very outspoken feminist, and she worked with the UN, and she was big on philanthropy, and the royal family is kind of known for, you know, keep your mouth closed and don't say anything and just smile and wave. So I think there were so many positives about Meghan entering into that fold that everyone was incredibly excited by.
But for Meghan, marriage to the royal family meant sacrifices.
Meghan did have to give up her blog, The Tig, when she met Harry. You can't be a traveling actress and have a job when you join the royal family. That becomes the job. You know, you become part of that establishment, you become part of the firm.
Meghan had to basically set fire to everything that she'd built.
And behind the palace walls, a royal rift was beginning to take shape.
There were just these incidents. We know that famously the wedding between Harry and Meghan caused a few problems, particularly with Catherine.
The so-called Fab Four meant that William and Catherine and Harry and Meghan, well, they'd get along. In fact, the relationship between them were very, very difficult. And Catherine and Meghan had absolutely nothing in common.
When people used to say to me, oh, I think there's a problem, or I think William and Harry are having issues, I used to deny it. I said, no, not possible. Because I knew the two of them, and I thought, no, not possible.
There had been really, really serious arguments within the royal family. Things went very, very sour, very, very fast.
We saw that they're increasingly unhappy, and we did think, how long could this continue?
The newly titled Duchess of Sussex was struggling with the limitations of royal life.
I think she thought, I got to spend the rest of my life like this. I can't do this. There's no place for me to be myself.
I think she had her own idea of what it was to be a royal. I think she went in thinking that she could marry her prince, live in the palaces and castles, travel between America and the UK, live this celebrity lifestyle, and carry out royal duties when she wanted to. I think the reality hit home when suddenly she was told, you can't do this, you can't do that. When you are a member of the royal family, there is rules, there's protocols, there's procedures, things you have to do and things you can't do. Even for the royals. I don't think she liked that.
When you look at a background in show business and the amount of money that you can earn there, and the freedom and the profile that you're able to build, for her, it must have been a shock. It was very much, get married, you're in, and all of a sudden, by the way, this is how it works here. It must have been really suffocating for her in terms of, well, what does my career look like? What does my life look like longer term with these expectations on me?
In January 2020, Meghan and Harry shocked the world by announcing, on Instagram no less, that they were stepping back from their roles in the royal family. Blindsided by the bombshell, the Queen had no choice but to step in and try to contain the damage.
The Queen decided that some resolution to this conflict needed to be found, and it needed to be found fast. They organised what was called the Sandringham Summit. It was extremely dramatic.
They negotiated the terms of their exit with the Queen. They did famously want to do a sort of, or asked to potentially do a half-in, half-out situation. The Queen put her foot down and said, there is no half-in, half-out. Either you're in or you're out.
It takes character to be able to step away from what is essentially a free lottery ticket within, I guess, a structure that you may have been struggling with and didn't want to be part of.
They planned to carve out a new path and work to become financially independent, away from the royal payroll.
For me, it's clear that Meghan changed everything. I think there's no way that Harry would have ended up leaving the royal family and moving abroad if it wasn't for her. I think she knew what she wanted. She's got back to California where she grew up and where she feels at home. But I'm afraid every time I see Harry, he doesn't look so happy.
I was completely shocked because it was not the Harry I knew. Completely not the Harry I knew. 100%. Harry really cared about his role. He cared about his duty. He cared about his family. And he took it really seriously. He really did.
I think people now question, you know, did she want to make a go of it with the royal family, or actually was her plan all along to encourage him to return with her to the USA, where she could make her fortune?
Coming up, Meghan breaks the royal code of silence with a shock disclosure and starts cashing in on the global attention that comes with the royal title.
There would be that friction there because she came from a very commercial brain. She wanted to really monetize everything. And she understood, I think, if she left, she could monetize the fact that she'd been in the royal family.
Meghan Markle, royal wife and ambitious businesswoman, has quit the firm and started making some real money. But is she smashing the glass ceiling for female entrepreneurs the world over, or just cashing in on all her royal connections? In 2020, Harry and Meghan swapped the UK for the California dream, buying a $14.7 million home in star-studded Montecito.
I mean, I think, look at their property. I mean, Montecito, given the fact that they are royals and they're going to want privacy, security, that kind of stuff, they just can't buy a property on a normal road. And those requirements, unfortunately, where they've decided to live, comes with a very hefty price tag.
Harry had received an inheritance from his late mother, Diana, of nearly $14 million. So along with Meghan's estimated wealth of $5 million, it was a starting point. But it wasn't going to be enough to maintain a royal lifestyle.
Since moving to California, Harry and Meghan have a problem. People estimate that his security costs about £2 million a year, you know, which is an awful lot of money to find year after year. Then they've got a mortgage on their home, plus they've got a huge expensive staff. So you need big numbers to keep coming in.
The question was, how are they going to pay for all of this?
So far as money is concerned, it's hard to see how, except by monetizing their royal connections, they can make a lot of money.
I mean, oh my goodness, what are they going to do?
All eyes were on them. Everybody wanted to know what they were going to do. Whether she would go back to Hollywood and become an actress, whether he would just go off and do his charity work. The whole world was looking at them.
And then Meghan and Harry dropped a bombshell interview that shocked the world and made it clear they were no longer willing to be the keeper of royal secrets.
What was the tipping point that made you decide you had to leave?
Yeah, I was desperate. I went to all the places which I thought I should go to ask for help. We both did, separately and together.
So you left because you were asking for help and couldn't get it?
Yeah.
They sat down with Oprah Winfrey to really cement the divisions and to give their big bombshell interview where for the first time they really let rip at the monarchy, you know, the institution of monarchy, the palace aides, but also at family members.
In those months when I was pregnant, all around this same time, so we have in tandem the conversation of he won't be given security, he's not going to be given a title, and also concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
What?
It did the royal family enormous damage. Given what they were actually after, worldwide publicity and launching a nuclear weapon at the royal family, Oprah was a terrific success.
This interview was their calling card, a signal to the world that they had a story and they were ready to share it.
I think at that time they were really trying to establish their names across the pond. Their first interview after leaving the family, I mean, a huge get for Oprah. And then same thing for them, really. It's, look, our story is so important. This is the kind of platform that we're getting for it.
Telling their story so candidly was good news for the couple's first big money deal. Thanks to their royal status, the couple had struck an extremely lucrative deal with Netflix.
Now, with the Netflix deal, we heard about huge sums. I mean, they varied. People were talking about $75 million, $100 million.
It was a time when Netflix was signing a lot of golden handcuff deals. They'd signed up Barack Obama. They were buying a former US president. What were they buying with Harry and Meghan? They're buying royal.
There's no doubt that it's a huge risk for a company like Netflix.
I think they thought that they were talented enough to produce documentaries. I think they knew that there would be interest in royal material.
The numbers were big, but how much were Harry and Meghan really going to make?
So $100 million doesn't go to Harry and Meghan personally. So the agreement was between Netflix and their production company, Archwell Productions.
This is going to hire the best producers, the best directors, to make them look the best.
They will make money personally through executive producer fees, for example. Across each of the shows, that could range between $250,000 to $1 million. So they'll still make some good money from it, but it's not $100 million in their back pocket personally.
The couple's production company, Archwell Productions, already had projects in development.
So it was very exciting, I suppose, because people thought, wow, what are they going to produce?
After a 25-month wait, the public finally got their first offering, Harry and Meghan, an intimate 6-part, all-access documentary series offering an unprecedented look at their new life after walking away from royal duties.
When Harry and Meghan left the royal family, it was clear that their big trump card was talking about their experience within the family, talking about what happened, talking about why they left, talking about why they were unhappy. So I think at the time of Netflix signing them, that was probably high on the list of what they expected and what they got with the Harry and Meghan series.
When the series was released, it quickly became clear there was a huge appetite for Harry and Meghan's story.
It's really hard to look back on it now and go, what on earth happened?
You hear that? That is the sound of hearts breaking all around the world.
She's becoming a royal rock star.
And then
everything changed.
When you looked at the streaming on that show for the first week, it garnered 81 million view hours. 81 million viewing hours equates to 9,247 years. That is multiple lifetimes. As human beings, we've only been recording human history for 5,000 years. So when you think about the success of that show, it was absolutely phenomenal.
The docuseries, it got massive ratings, was very well watched, it won loads of headlines. So, Netflix got its money's worth.
The whole world was tuning in, but the series was met with some critical reviews.
When I first heard that we were going to get Harry and Meghan, I did think we were going to get a Kardashian-style, behind-the-scenes, fire-in-the-wall, Towie, but in Montecito. And what we got was this sort of pseudo-intellectual documentary which took itself far too seriously.
I wonder what would have happened to us had we not got out when we did.
Our security was being pulled. Everyone in the world knew where we were.
I said, we need to get out of here. We are on a freedom flight.
They just wanted to be free. They wanted to be free to love and be happy. I applauded that.
They called it a docuseries. Personally, I would call it a reality show, but it was a program about them and gave them a chance to whinge more about their time in the royal family, complain at length, and it was extraordinary series.
No one knows the full truth. We know the full truth.
I don't think we needed the series into their love story and their relationship with just them and all of their friends being incredibly sycophantic. I think what happened was there was also a lot of contradiction to that urge and, very understandable urge for privacy. And it became this really weird thing of like, we're not going to be in the royal family because we want to be American celebrities.
The thing that always stands out to me and that I know stands out to a lot of people is when she imitated her first bow for the Queen.
It was like that. Like I curtsied as though I was like, pleasure to meet you, Your Majesty.
Why would you do that?
I think the mock curtsy that Meghan performed was a bit of a turning point, actually. Definitely came across as mocking, and I think Harry's expression when he saw her doing it kind of emphasised that.
Viewers were left confused by a series which delved deeply into their private lives, sharing details of unprecedented intimacy.
Harry had a dislike of the media, and we knew it. It wasn't a secret, it was known. I'm now to suddenly be doing the opposite. I was watching Harry's body language in some of it. Part of me did keep thinking, is Harry really happy about doing all this?
My goodness, with the most intimate details of Harry and Meghan's life. So we saw, photographs of their children in the bath. To me, often in this series, Harry looks uncomfortable, and I imagine that's the point that he thought, is this really the route I want to go down?
They should have been listening to the advice. They should have done the fly on the wall thing, but been a lot nicer about everyone, because you never want to burn your bridges.
Possibly the worst aspect of the Netflix docuseries was that it was broadcast just a couple of months after Queen Elizabeth's death, when feelings were still very raw about her death. Was just appalling, and I think that really did contribute to a public turning against Harry and Meghan.
Very damaging to the royal family, an enormous box office hit.
Having struck ratings gold with the royal tell-all, the pressure was then on for the couple to come up with more hits. For Meghan, that meant stepping behind the camera, signing on as a producer for a slate of Harry's passion projects, one of which was the docuseries Polo.
Imagine going on a horse at 35 miles an hour with someone coming at you at full speed.
The adrenaline that goes through your body, it's addicting.
Harry made a series about polo, which is a sport he's always loved, but which, let's face it, is a very minority interest. The series didn't do very well.
Feels still quite elitist, quite sort of particular, quite niche, and quite small, really. And also, to be honest, the players weren't particularly interesting.
And a series on Harry's much-beloved charity, The Heart of Invictus, which clocked in at 5 episodes and a hefty 261 minutes.
You are people of substance, of resilience, of strength. You have the heart of Invictus.
Perfectly worthy if you wanted to watch it, but the length was almost unbelievable.
When I was a soldier, that meant the world to me. Once I was wounded, how do you define yourself then? 살아서.
Neither series reached the impressive viewing figures of their first offering.
The commercial reality is that lofty, ideals-based programmes are often not what people necessarily want to watch.
And a key thing for Harry and Meghan is their links to the royal family. That's what gives their brand its appeal.
If they weren't royal, no one would be interested in them.
After a promising start, the couple's media dreams were crumbling.
I'm sure that behind the scenes there was quite a lot of pressure at Netflix, and I'm sure that the team there wouldn't have been delighted.
There's a lot of pressure on Harry and Meghan. I don't think films like the Invictus Games or the Polo ones would ever even be thought of to be seen on something like Netflix if it hadn't been for their royal titles and the association. In the end, Netflix have given them money, but they've got to see something back.
A deal like this with Netflix, a multi-year deal, is going to have all kinds of performance elements. You're not guaranteed to get the number on the contract.
The money had gone on glossy productions, but to keep the cash flowing, they'd need Netflix to renew. Would they have to rely on their royal connections to seal another deal?
So in Hollywood, it's all about, you're only as good as your last show and your last hit. They were 3 years into their Netflix deal. It looked like time was running out for them to get their next hit. And I think they must have been thinking, actually, what are we going to do here?
Coming up, with everything crashing down around them, a high-profile industry executive drops a bombshell that causes incalculable damage.
Really tarnish their reputation. And for brands and for businesses who might be eyeballing them, this kind of word would send shivers and shockwaves around the industry.
Today, Meghan is carving out her space as a modern businesswoman, launching podcasts and lifestyle brands. But is this fearless champion of women's rights also a savvy operator, cashing in on her royal connections to help build an empire?
There's something incredible about a young woman who is willing to roll the dice on herself.
Meghan absolutely has this very sort of hardworking nature to her, and you can see that she's a bit of a hustler.
In 2021, she released a children's book called The Bench, under her Duchess of Sussex title.
The Bench started life as a poem that Meghan wrote for Harry for Father's Day in the year that their son, Prince Archie, was born. Harry obviously loved it and loved that Meghan had done it and decided that she was so talented, and so they decided that Meghan should release this poem as a children's book.
So book deals are really interesting. So typically when an author gets an advance, so in this instance will probably be $700,000, that $700,000 will go to Meghan into her back pocket. Now, with an advance of that kind, it's money that is set against future royalties.
Although she received a reported $700,000 advance, when the book hit the shelves, it only sold 8,000 copies in the UK.
The illustrations are beautiful. It got kind of mixed reviews. There wasn't a really compelling character at the heart of it. It hadn't really been brought to life.
If she didn't meet the quota or the sales required for the publisher to recover the $700,000, she doesn't have to repay a penny. That risk is solely taken by the publisher, which is great for the author, not good for the publisher.
Her Duchess title, not her storytelling, may have been the real selling point for the deal.
There was like a small contingent of real children's authors who were kind of quite ridiculing of it because they felt that Meghan had simply been given the deal because of her fame and status, which quite probably was true.
But she didn't have to worry about book sales. Meghan and Harry had a deal with Spotify, said to be worth $20 million. Was this down to their talent or their titles?
Again, it was a massive coup when Spotify got them. Podcasting was taking off and, everyone was getting into it.
In the podcasting industry, there's a lot of money to be made. When you get to the level of a Joe Rogan or a Harry and Meghan on a podcast where you can attract a global audience, you can make multiple millions of dollars every single year.
The real question was, were they about to tap the royal well one more time?
It seems that they kind of had to think, what do we do now? What do we actually make?
So then you think to yourself, realistically, what do these entities think they were buying?
Many expected another explosive tell-all.
I think when they signed on to Spotify, it was very much signing on the names, the couple, Harry and Meghan, the story of what they went through.
Or maybe a royal chat show.
You can't be a one-trick pony, and they know that. Not permanently, not for successive years.
In December 2020, Meghan and Harry released a 33-minute holiday special for Spotify.
Welcome to our 2020 holiday special from Ultra Audio. I'm Harry.
And I'm Meghan. We asked a few friends and a lot of other folks, activists, poets,
Athletes, writers,
teachers, artists, people from all walks of life.
Hello, my name is James Corden.
My name is Elton John.
They came up with a pilot show that had both of them, Harry and Meghan, on it, and there were a few stars. I seem to remember, I think there was Elton John appeared. And it was a promotion for, look, this is what we can do. We can get famous friends on and it's going to be great.
In Hollywood, there is a hierarchy. Obviously, Elton John was very good friends with Harry's mother. I do think they used their royal status to make sure they secured the best names and it got as much listeners as possible.
But that will be the last we heard of the Spotify deal for almost a year and a half, until August 2022, when Archetypes was released.
When it actually appeared, it was only Meghan. Harry disappeared completely. It was called Archetypes, and it was quite a serious programme.
Archetypes, the idea behind that was to interview influential women across the world, talking about the stereotypes that hinder women in their progression.
You know, it could have been a massive hit. You know, she had some big stars, her friend Serena Williams, she had Mariah Carey, she had Paris Hilton. You know, these are huge international stars. But I think, unfortunately, people are not that interested in Meghan.
Spotify might have hoped for a royal story, but that isn't what they got.
Welcome to Archetypes. Let's do this.
The industry is like, wait a minute, you know, this is what we paid for, so why aren't you doing it?
I don't think Archetypes shed a huge amount of light on Meghan herself.
Harry and Meghan have had very considerable fortune when they've utilized their royal connections, and I think they've done that very destructively. They have to decide, is there anything more that they want to do on the royal family?
It was a fantastic deal because I don't think they would have got at all as close to $20 million if she hadn't been part of the royal family. But actually, the real reason that she's making so much money now is because of her marriage to Prince Harry.
Just 13 weeks later, the podcast feed went cold.
You'd expect with podcasts that they have loads of episodes.
I think for any podcast to be successful in today's day and age, you at least need to be having a podcast episode every single week. I think anything less than once a week, you'll struggle to get traction. And yes, they have quite a large brand kind of influence, but with podcasts, it is a numbers game.
There were 13 episodes, that's all that went out, and really they weren't getting the traction that I think Spotify wanted. And Spotify had to sit there and do the maths, and we've got an investment in her, it's probably costing us a lot of money to have the talent here, but no one's really listening.
In June 2023, a joint statement was released. They had mutually agreed to part ways.
It's not clear how well the programme did, but what we do know is that Spotify ditched them. They didn't renew the deal. It came to an end pretty quickly.
They said in the press releases that it was all very fine and they would go their separate ways, and that was it.
I think that there was maybe a coming down to earth moment where maybe both parties realized, okay, we signed on to this quite, excitedly, and maybe we should have had a backlog of ideas and materials and things like that. It's clear that Archetypes didn't do as well as they had hoped, so that was pretty much a shambles.
Apparently Meghan was very difficult to work for, things started leaking out, people needed therapy or hidden toilets or had to have time off work, changing her mind, very demanding.
Rumours about how she treated staff were unsubstantiated, but then a Spotify executive dropped a bombshell claim.
I wish I'd been involved in the Meghan and Harry leave Spotify negotiation. The grifters. That's the podcast we should have launched with them.
One of the Spotify executives, Bill Simmons, he was asked to help Harry and Meghan with ideas. He then, on his own podcast, said, one time I've got to get drunk and tell you the real story of what happened when I had to help Harry try and come up with some podcast ideas. He called them effing grifters. And grifter in American terms means like a con artist. He basically said that their ideas were rubbish, and that's why Spotify dropped them.
I remember the day that came out, and it was extraordinary because, oh my goodness, to have someone so high up come out and call them grifters in that way was really shocking.
It really tarnished their reputation. And for brands and for businesses who might be eyeballing them, this kind of word would send shivers and shockwaves around the industry.
I think they're very much kind of grifters. That's what's frustrating about them, to see them being given all of these opportunities to do such amazing things, and this is what they're choosing to do.
I think for Meghan, this one must have been really personally quite embarrassing for her because she loves talking, she loves her friends, she had really great guests on that show, and I think she wanted to prove herself as well as being somebody that people wanted to listen to. So I think for her, it's quite humiliating.
Their podcast careers were cut short. But it wasn't a surprise when word got out about the results of some brainstorming sessions.
We heard from one of their executives, Bill Simmons, some pretty horrific tales about working with Prince Harry. And the implication was that he did not have a clue. He went out to get hot chocolates or something and eventually said, why don't you do a program about hot chocolate, you know? They were just ludicrous ideas. Harry would say, I know, why don't we get Vladimir Putin to do a podcast? We can talk about how people's childhoods have altered them.
I mean, can you imagine, like, the research call? Yeah, hi, Vlad. Yeah, hi. I want to talk to you about why you're a narcissist and a psychopath. Oh, you're not going to put me through to the president? What? But I'm Prince Harry.
With another failed project on their hands, people started to wonder, wasn't anyone guiding them?
You have to ask the question, who's advising them? Do they have any advisors? Because the whole thing seems so shambolic. They have got advisors. They've got great advisors. They're just not listening to them. Because the only person that counts here is Meghan. And Meghan goes with her gut. She listens to herself. And it's what Meghan thinks and wants that counts.
With Spotify done and no prospect of being a children's author, they really needed to make their next project for Netflix a hit.
They'd obviously got 100 million from Netflix. This was a lot of money, but also a lot of responsibility for them to actually deliver.
Coming up, Meghan is rebranding.
Nothing about this is about art. The only thing this is about is making money.
I mean, there are certain red lines, and they are prepared to cross them. All this, of course, made the Sussexes impossible to trust.
The royal couple had told their story more than once, signing lucrative deals with Netflix, Spotify, and others. And while their revelations may have rocked the royal family, they were determined to carve out a new life and fortune on their own terms. In 2023, the Duke and Duchess dropped their biggest bombshell yet. After receiving a staggering $20 million advance from his publishers, Harry's memoir, Spare, hit the bookshelves.
You know, we'd already had the Oprah interview, which I think was really necessary and really important. That was kind of all we needed to hear. And then we obviously had Harry's memoir, we had Spare.
Harry's like spilled the beans. He spilled his guts, as we say in America. I think he's told everything.
The book quickly made headlines for its intimate and unprecedented insight into what went on behind the scenes at the palace.
You don't, even particularly if you're phobic about security, reveal the numbers of Taliban you personally took out in the second tour of duty in Afghanistan. You certainly, if you want to be taken seriously, don't talk about penile frostbite, losing your virginity in a field, personally attacking Queen Camilla, for example, and quite literally, the way he was describing William's alleged assault personally on him.
The public devoured it. On its first day, Spare sold approximately 1.4 million copies in the US, Canada, and UK, becoming the fastest-selling non-fiction book of all time on the date of its release.
Spare was, again, together with the interviews, something that was a red rag to King Charles. He trashed his family in the book, and they haven't forgotten, and they may never trust him again afterwards. The facts are that Meghan was very clearly behind Spare, which makes it all the more extraordinary what was included in Spare.
The reviews weren't glowing, and neither was the public reaction.
The aftermath of that, they had a massive crash in the opinion polls in America.
By this point, you've had them massively lampooned in South Park on their worldwide privacy tour.
The prince and his wife. We want privacy! We want privacy!
You've had a Spotify executive call them grifters. they've become kind of mocked and a bit of a public figure of fun in not just the British press, in the American press.
And so they had to draw a line under all of these projects that were raking over the coals of their royal rift. I remember feeling like, well, Harry's all right, but what on earth is Meghan going to do? So everyone was just waiting to see, like, is Meghan going to be able to relaunch herself?
The couple had planned to leave royal content behind, but could their brand survive without the royal boost?
At the start of 2025, Meghan began the year with this Instagram post showing her running through the sand, and it kind of dropped this hint that something big was coming.
Definitely they needed something else after the Harry and Meghan series.
It looked like time was running out for them to get their next hit. There was nothing coming, and then we suddenly got With Love, Meghan.
With Love, Meghan was an 8-part lifestyle series that promised to show the Duchess like we had never seen her before.
Guy snoring. Peaceful day.
So With Love, Meghan is Meghan kind of being the new Martha Stewart, basically. You know, she loves home, she loves entertaining, and she wants to show people how to elevate everyday situations by offering them lifestyle advice, showing them how to cook various different meals, and interviewing people that she finds interesting along the way.
On the 4th of March 2025, Meghan was finally ready to show the world that she was just like us after all.
Let's go.
That was her big rebrand. And all of a sudden she went from, you know, in her early career, she was the feminist who's got, you know, angry that women were depicted as only being in the kitchen, and then she reinvented herself as the trad, you know, at home, in the kitchen, cooking, hosting kind of image.
We could do a little dollop of yogurt as our clouds.
Now that, I think, is something that people want to watch. I think this was a very good idea, and I think that Meghan should have done this from the get-go.
It's so different to all the other stuff they've done, and then suddenly it's like, hi, this is us, welcome to our home, we're so happy. It was almost like staged. It just didn't seem real.
And some of it wasn't. Those hoping to get a glimpse of royal life inside Meghan's Montecito mansion were left disappointed.
This isn't my house. Daniel's gonna be staying at my house, but I'm gonna prep everything here.
So she rented out a kitchen. It was her own garden that they filmed in, but yeah, the kitchen wasn't hers. That was definitely, again, seized upon as a point by a lot of people saying, you know, why wouldn't you?
There is that massive fakeness, I suppose, in that Meghan wants to sell us her life and her lifestyle.
That's what you want. You want that shape and texture.
But it's not really her life. You know, she's filming in a fake house. She's not really having Daniel Martin over to stay and making the bar salts for his bedside table. I mean, as if that's ever going to happen.
Meghan's fashion choices also got people talking.
So, you know, you've got someone who's cooking, who's in whites and pastels and flowing colours and making something with tomatoes, which, you know, none of it feels very real.
Why do you want to wear white clothes in a kitchen? I mean, she looks superb, but I mean, that's not how most people are in kitchens.
It's just a weird, unrealistic way to dress. Be in your own kitchen and have your hair a little messy. Like, just be real. Don't be this kind of Stepford version of what you think is real.
But while the title of her show referred to her simply as Meghan, she wanted to remind everyone, including her guests, that she was still a Duchess.
I don't think anyone in the world knows that Meghan Markle has eaten Jack in the Box and loves it.
It's so funny, too, that you keep saying Meghan Markle. You know I'm Sussex now.
And that was seized upon as a clip because it was a sort of standout moment. You know, if I were having a conversation with one of my best friends, like she was supposedly having with Mindy Carling, I wouldn't have corrected her with titles, for example.
It just means so much to go, this is our family name.
I felt that when I watched it, I was a little bit embarrassed for them, to be honest.
Mindy actually kind of almost stood back when she actually heard the news that she was Meghan Sussex, because everybody probably was quite surprised. But Meghan shows that she's still thinking she's a member of the royal family. She's still using the Sussex name for notoriety, for gain, and for financial gain too.
And it wasn't the first time Meghan's titles had stirred up headlines. In April 2025, podcaster Jamie Kern-Lima shared a picture of a sweet thank you gift from the Duchess after Meghan had appeared as a guest on her podcast. But it wasn't the gift that got people talking, it was the card. signed off with Her Royal Highness. This was seen as going against the spirit of the Megxit deal.
It was just absolutely ridiculous. It said, with compliments, HRH, the Duchess of Sussex. Now, this was something that she promised the late Queen that she wouldn't do. So she's using this to gain money. She's using this for notoriety. And that was pretty embarrassing. Another embarrassment for her.
It was never taken away, he can still use it. But there was an understanding that maybe when he was in the States that he wouldn't use it. So just like a gentleman's agreement.
Despite mixed reviews, With Love Meghan amassed 2.6 million views in its first week.
The public perception has been very interesting. Some people have absolutely loved it, but many people have ridiculed it. You know, seeing somebody take various different pretzels and put them into another bag, you know, and then writing handwritten notes. A lot of this just people feel it isn't actually something you do every day. You know, that's the problem.
Nothing about this is about art. The only thing that this is about is making money. That's the only explanation for it, because no one is actually genuinely connecting with this show.
I watched it all, and I found it extraordinarily tedious.
In the pursuit of joy.
I mean, floral ice cubes, all very well. There are those who might like to tell Meghan where to put her floral ice cubes.
Not to miss out on another possible cash-in, Meghan announced that with the backing of Netflix, she was launching a range of products which featured on the show that viewers could buy.
Netflix is, you know, it's a streaming giant. It makes television programs and films. But what it has started to move into is commercial projects to try to, you know, get fans of their big hits such as Stranger Things or Bridgerton to buy merchandise to go with them.
Okay, guys, open with care.
The reality is what you're trying to do here is you're trying to capitalize on the audience. So her launching a brand which is kind of in the same kind of arena as what she's been talking about on a recent show makes perfect business sense.
On the 2nd of April, her brand, as ever, launched, featuring 8 products including jam, honey, a selection of teas, and her now infamous flower sprinkles.
It is very Meghan in a way, you know, and the calligraphy with it and the packaging, and it's clear she did think a lot about that holistically and how it would all look and come across. So I think she's really proud of it.
If you look at the stuff that she is selling, the branding on it looks like something that has been given a royal warrant. Like if you look at the kind of logo and the lettering, all of it is very kind of royal coded.
In fact, people couldn't help but notice certain similarities to other royal brands.
Meghan probably looks at the Duchy produce, the Hygro produce, because she'll be aware of all of it and probably thinks, oh, they do quite well from it. Let's bring out our own produce.
When King Charles was the Prince of Wales, he began producing organic and high-end foods under the Duchy and Highgrove monikers.
He came up with this very clever idea of having organic produce that would be everything from apple juice, biscuits, wine, champagnes, all sorts. And it was a very successful business. And also, don't forget all of it with charity.
Meghan's prices are sky high. I mean, you actually pay more for the flower sprinkles at $15 than you do for the jam at $14. But then that's before you can encounter the honey, which is $28. She's only got like 7 or 8 products on there, but she's you know, the markup on those must be absolutely huge. So if she can start shifting this stuff in mega numbers, then she will make money. I mean, it's guaranteed. But right now, you know, I personally will not be spending $28 for a jar of honey.
But for those who were keen to cough up the cash, would it be worth it?
Ooh.
Oh, that's good.
The public was excited, but there was a catch.
I couldn't get anything because it all sold out so quickly.
Everything sold out within, I think it was about 45 minutes. And we were very cynical because we sort of thought that's the oldest trick in the book. You know, you say, oh, we've sold out, and you create demand.
Meghan's loyal fans would have to wait almost 3 months before she restocked her shelves, only for it all to sell out yet again on the first day, within minutes.
There is real opportunity here for Meghan, but the key thing is, if you want to make money, you have to sell product. If you don't have product in your store, you can't make money. So that's the bit that she has to fix.
Coming up, the Duchess finds new ways to monetize her fame.
One problem Meghan has is this effort to try to sort of wear so many different hats, trying to be the perfect Californian hostess, but then at the same time, trying to be a successful businesswoman.
Who is she? Well, the real Meghan Markle, sorry, Duchess of Sussex, because she's Sussex now. Please stand up.
In 2025, the Duchess of Sussex followed in the footsteps of her father-in-law, King Charles, with the launch of her As Ever brand, selling products such as tea and fruit spreads. And in July, she launched a new product, a $30 bottle of California rosé wine, which also sold out.
Now that's an area where celebrities have made tons of money. Kylie Minogue's done fantastically with wine. She sold 18 million bottles worldwide. So if Meghan can do that, if she can create like an incredibly successful brand and then sell it, that's it, they're in the clear. It is quite unique to be somebody in Meghan's position where she can still bring the whole world's media and make them look at something.
Dubbed the so-called Meghan effect, she generates interest in the brands or products she's associated with. And since joining the royal family and becoming one of the most photographed women in the world, interest in what Meghan wears has skyrocketed.
When she was first dating Harry, her outfits made a massive kind of storm.
In terms of the Meghan effect, she said she became aware of that in 2017 on one of the first royal jobs she did, when the Strathbury bag she wore sold out pretty much immediately. So I think she's very aware of her star power in that sense, that any brand that she lends herself to goes to a different level.
As a working royal, Meghan couldn't profit from her wardrobe choices, but that didn't stop her from turning every public appearance into a fashion show. Now she can finally cash in. With millions tuning into With Love Meghan, the timing was perfect to start selling her signature look. And on March 24th, 2025, she launched the Duchess of Sussex Shop My page, where fans could shop her favourite products, and Meghan gets a cut of every sale.
It enables you to link the products that are in the post, essentially. So it's like the dress you're wearing, or the handbag, the jewellery, the makeup even.
People aspire to be her, aspire to perhaps wear the things that she wants. And the business model is really simple. If this dress, this outfit is available, there is naturally going to be a huge influx of people wanting that.
It's a really clever thing to do because it showed that actually people wanted to buy what she's wearing. Meghan obviously had the TIG before she was part of the royal family, which is all about influence. It was a blog. But using her Shop My and using all of the clothes that she's wearing in her shows, she's becoming this huge influencer. But the influence is because she's part of the royal family.
She is a very stylish person, so it makes sense for her to do, but it definitely feels like a different world to the royal family. I mean, it's not something you can imagine Catherine doing.
She needs to make money. She's not part of the royal family. She needs to make her cash, and this is a great way of doing it, so good on her.
But Meghan's image is more than what she wears. Like her brother-in-law, Prince William, she too is passionate about ethical and environmental causes. Like senior royals who can grant royal warrants to companies they favour, Meghan can offer her own seal of approval, an investment.
Some of the brands she's invested in, like Clever Blends, for example, they do sort of superfood lattes, and it's all very modern, and it's like all very female-centric.
What's interesting about Meghan is, she's entrepreneurial, and what she's done by investing in various different businesses is that she's giving them the stamp of approval that Meghan Markle wants to be part of it.
All fulfillment crew, lovingly packing your lattes. We've been listening to Britney on loop since 2019.
I don't think brands would be that interested in her if she didn't have her status and her title. I think that she hasn't got the actual entrepreneurial nuance to actually assist new brands, etc., to where they want to go, because she actually hasn't done that yet with her own brand.
But unlike a royal warrant, which makes no money for the royal family, Meghan has the opportunity to cash in from her endorsements.
With it being a completely brand new company, if they've gone from 0 turnover to 2 million turnover in a year, she's got a 20% stake, that's obviously worth quite a lot of money. And if she scales up to 20, 30 million, $40 million in revenue each year, that 20% stake grows more in value over time.
We talk constantly about the value of the Netflix deal, but actually investing, that is probably what's been the most lucrative thing. I would imagine they've made millions and will continue to make millions out of investing.
Meghan is immersing herself in the roles of investor, influencer, and business owner. But that's not enough for the busy Duchess. In April 2025, she stepped back behind the microphone and launched a new podcast.
And Meghan's second deal, and it was just with Meghan, was with a company called Lemonada, and she's produced a new series, which is Confessions of a Female Founder.
The concept of Confessions of a Female Founder is all about basically talking to female entrepreneurs, scaling up and creating businesses that are now worth, a lot more money, whether it's, tens of millions or hundreds of millions or even past the billion mark.
If I'm gonna watch a podcast with somebody talking about being a billionaire, you gotta have been a billionaire, or you're a billionaire. She's not.
Her podcast does have a very kind of Stephen Bartlett, Diver CEO kind of feel. I mean, we've certainly been here before, right? But the difference is that with his podcast, he has some really, really interesting people on from all different areas of the world and from business and from media and from sport. With Meghan, I don't want to be disparaging, but she interviewed, her hair colorist who she's invested in. The Confessions of a Female Founder podcast seemed to serve only one person, and that's Meghan. Meghan rebrand as an entrepreneur.
Facts are that it's fallen out of Spotify top 100. Apparently, it's not even in the top 200. So it really doesn't seem to have inspired anyone.
After just 9 episodes, Confessions of a Female Founder has seemingly ended its run, earning her a reported $40,000.
The point is, without the Oprah interview, without the Harry and Meghan Netflix series, and without Harry's memoir, there wouldn't be very much that they've done, certainly not that's been successful.
I think it shows that Meghan's a little bit limited when it comes to being just a general podcaster. If she talks about things to do with the royal family, etc., then it's very, very different. But actually, the only way she can really make money is by using her royal title at the moment.
One problem Meghan has is this effort to try to sort of wear so many different hats. So if you watch her lifestyle program, you'll see her trying to be the perfect Californian hostess, but then at the same time trying to earn a fortune, spending a lot of her time trying to be a successful businesswoman. I think there's so many different contradictions there.
Who is she? Is she a podcaster? Is she a TV maker? Is she an actress? Is she a trad wife? Oh, I just love to cook. Is she a girl boss? Yeah, Confessions of a Female Founder. Who is she? Is she a royal person? Is she not a royal person? Will the real Meghan Markle, sorry, Duchess of Sussex, because she's Sussex now, please stand up?
Coming up, as royal ties grow more distant, is Meghan building a new empire or clinging to the old one?
If you look at the stuff that she is selling, the branding on it looks like royal lettering. It's very rooted in Meghan as a member of the royal family, which also seems odd, right?
They are, of course, royal. That is the most successful thing that's linked to them.
It's been 5 years since Harry and Meghan stepped away from royal duties and set out to build an independent life without the British royal purse securing their financial futures. But has the gamble paid off?
They probably see themselves as the future king and queen of Los Angeles, but the reality is they're going to be a future king and queen of nothing the way they're going, because how many times can they reinvent themselves? How many times can they upset their family? I'm sure Harry must be sitting there thinking, what have I done?
The Sussexes are and have been ruthless to the royal family.
The couple are estimated to have amassed a net worth of around $60 million, but they ruffled some royal feathers along the way.
They've done these amazing deals. They've really rinsed what they had to do.
Whatever she does seems to have this commercial success. People buy what she wears, you know, people look at what she's doing, people care what she's eating, and they care what she's cooking.
Has Meghan got her eyes on a bigger prize, billionaire status?
To become a billionaire, you have to really hustle. She's a great hustler. I mean, I think Meghan is an incredible hard worker. I've got a lot of time for her hustle and her hard-working abilities. But to get to that kind of 0.001% club, become a billionaire, that's serious money.
Roz would say it's just rude to talk like that, about money like that. I think she's got the wrong ideas.
But would she have to spill royal secrets to get there?
Maybe a bit of a I told you so to the royal family, that we can be successful without that royal connection, if you will.
What she craves is real power. Meghan is trying to monetize every bit of fame she's got.
In this new era of Meghan, who is she going to be? Will she leave the royal title behind? Or is Duchess too valuable to let go of?
If you look at the stuff that she is selling, and so it's jam and it's tea, homemakery goods, the branding on it looks like royal lettering. It's very rooted in Meghan as a member of the royal family, which also seems odd, right? Because she left the royal family and now she's this California mum, so that's a disconnect.
They are, of course, royal. That is the most successful thing that's linked to them.
I don't know what the authentic Meghan Markle is. I mean, how would I know? How would anybody know? Harry might not even know. Who knows?
But no matter what Meghan does, love her or hate her, people are watching.
She's selling out her clothes, she's selling out her jams, she's still making people watch her shows. She's doing pretty well.
I think Meghan's brand appeals to so many because of the whole story, whether they're watching because they want to criticize her or whether they're watching because they genuinely, you know, enjoy watching her and they want to buy her things. I don't know, but they're always watching.
But will they get to tune into more of her with a Netflix renewal?
The Netflix deal with Harry and Meghan was apparently for 5 years, so it's up this autumn, 2025. Will it be renewed? The media landscape has changed. Netflix are not signing up anyone in these big deals anymore, and even streamers that historically had so much money to splash around, even they are under financial pressure now.
Moving forward, they've got to decide whether it's going to work for both of them, because this is all about money in the end. Have they got their $100 million worth? Because they've had a documentary series of 6 parts, which was absolutely massive. We've seen 2 kind of flop shows, which have done okay. We've seen With Love Meghan, which again has become huge. And, you know, we've seen her now open up her Instagram and talk about her relationship with Netflix and how they're her business partners. So this whole relationship is important for both of them.
What Meghan does next is going to depend on what Netflix offer.
It's going to be really interesting to see how the next season of With Love Meghan does.
And what about her prince? As the couple appear to be parting ways professionally, it looks like Meghan could be going solo.
In the future, Netflix deal with the couple is likely to be just with Meghan rather than Harry, unless they choose to do another intimate sort of series about their personal lives, really.
Already you can see that Harry and Meghan are on different paths. Harry wants to do philanthropy, make the world a better place, duty, service. Service is universal, according to Harry and Meghan. But Meghan, it's all about the money.
It's interesting because we've seen them kind of go separately professionally, and that's much commented on in the media too. It's, oh, you know, he makes another charity appearance in New York alone, you know, while Meghan focuses on As Ever.
What we're seeing more and more is that it's Meghan who's the star of the show. She's the one leading all the new ventures. And I think that's because she wants to do it. You can see she's loving it. Whereas Harry doesn't. He looks uncomfortable. He's made clear it's not really what he wants to do.
With alleged new product launches and business ideas being reported in the media almost daily, the question is, what's next for the Duchess?
Can they build, if they can maintain and even build on that, yes, there'll be a 3rd series. Because actually, I think Meghan's really good at it. Some of it's completely facile and ridiculous, but I think she's actually really good at that. But is that going to translate into people buying her products? I don't know. I'm not sure. And surely the deals that she can get from the TV money is going to be much more than a $12 pot of jam.
I would know what Meghan's ultimate goal is. I would love for Meghan to go back to acting. I would love for her to be on the stage. She might be afraid to do it now because she hasn't done it for so long, but she'd be great. And I think she should give it a go.
I can see Meghan becoming the new Martha Stewart. I mean, goodness, Martha Stewart's been to prison, so if Martha Stewart can outlast all of that and still be the doyenne of middle America, then surely there's hope for Meghan Markle yet.
Wherever Meghan goes, the royal title isn't far behind. So will it always be a moneymaker for brand Meghan?
She will always be the woman who married into the royal family. That will be her brand. That's it. There is no other. So how do you use that for the good as high as you can?
To what extent they can monetize their royal connections in the future, this is a huge question mark. There's absolutely no doubt that Meghan is cashing in on her royal titles because without marrying Harry, essentially she would be a B-list actress.
I don't know if she has star power. She has something about her that people will be drawn towards and intrigued by because of her background, because of the life that she has lived, because of her choice to do that very differently in a way that's never been done before. I think there will always be a fascination around her that she will be able to capitalize on and make a lot of money from.
Is the gulf between them even wider than the ocean that now separates them? Don't miss William and Harry, Love and Betrayal, Friday at 9. Coming up, a tense psychological thriller begins. Vicky McClure fears losing her sanity as she stars in Insomnia. Brand new next.